we typically start our meeting with the pledge. Mr. Spaniel, would you like to join us and we can say the pledge?
For roll call, we seem to have everybody. We're all good to go there. For the executive announcements, we did have an executive session prior to, or actually after our meeting last night to discuss personnel. So we're going to move right on to public comment. I don't have any slips. Do we have any slips? Anybody for public comment? Anybody for public comment online? All right, so then we're going to move on to our presentation. Ray and Rocks.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here. I brought with me tonight two of our star second graders, Logan Huber and Riley Martin, and our wonderful teacher in second grade, Mrs. Claus. We're going to talk to you a little bit about an initiative we're doing this year called the Book of the Month. It has a couple layers to it. I'm going to let the kids do most of the talking, but what's happening is that in order to kind of spread the joy of reading, as well as connect to some of our important work we're doing with PBIS. We learned a little bit about that last week, and our Second Step program and some of our kindness and character traits. We are starting that program where we read the book in the classroom with the teacher. The kids take the book home, and one of the added benefits to it is that they read it with their families at home. So it engages the families, as we're always trying to do that a little bit more of. So we're seeing a lot of added benefit to that. The kids are excited about that. They have some activities to complete. And their work is starting to be displayed on and around the school. So we're excited about each month. Each month has a theme, and again, it's connected to our overall school goals of our character education. So I'm going to allow Mrs. Claus to speak, and then our two star students. Okay, guys? Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Am I on? Yep. Well, first and foremost, I would like to shout out the efforts of Lauren Brittingham and our reading department, who really carefully selected all of the books for Book of the Month, as well as planned the activities. So, as an elementary teacher, it is clear that students make really strong and lasting connections with the characters that they meet in their books. Book of the Month gives students the opportunity to experience great books and also make powerful connections with characters that are learning to be responsible citizens and lifelong learners, just like they're learning here at Pottsgrove. In the classroom, it gives teachers the opportunity to revisit these books in multiple areas. So for example, we used the book Misha Makes Friends, which was our October Book of the Month that Logan's going to be talking to you a little bit about. We used it to teach the students how to problem solve in our social skills lessons, but then also in language arts, I was able to use the same text to explore the patterns of how our characters act throughout a text. To have one book as a shared experience, not only across an entire school, but a community, is really a valuable experience that we hope the students will remember and take with them after they leave us at Ringing Rocks. So now I'm going to turn it over to a couple of our kiddos who will speak on some of these. All right.
I'm Riley Martin. I'm here to talk about September's Book of the Month. September's Book of the month was, have you filled a bucket today? Our theme was respect. In this book, we learned about the invisible bucket that everyone carries around with them. The job of everyone's bucket is to hold good thoughts and feelings about themselves. When we feel happy, our bucket is full. But when we feel sad, our bucket is empty. This book taught us how to be bucket fillers, giving real life examples. It also gives examples of what it means to be a bucket dipper. We all want to be bucket fillers.
Good job.
I am Logan Huber. I am here to talk about October's Book of the Month. October's Book of the Month is Misha Makes Friends. Our theme is friendship. In this book, we are reading about a girl who loves making things, but she finds difficult to make friends. She doesn't know what to do or say. One day, she discovered she had a special talent to help her make friends. The month of October is Bullying Present. Book is being used to highlight our kindness keys to be friendly and to support students and in making friends, including others, and using kind words and actions.
Thank you, Mrs. Claus. Logan and Riley did a great job. So we're really excited about the next several months. Some of the themes, as you heard Logan talk about, this month is Bullying Prevention Month, so we have a lot of activities and Spirit Days coming up. We have some of our themes are helping others, perseverance, kindness, problem solving, empathy, and fairness. So each month we have a theme, and it's connected to our overall school goal, not only just kind of the spreading the joy of reading, but our social emotional learning, which is, a fundamental part of elementary school. So thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Great job. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to the October student report.
All right, guys, I'm flying solo today, but we're gonna get it done. So, at the high school, the first quarter's ending, so I was gonna talk about the spirit weeks we've been having and what we've been doing within the schools to promote the student body as a whole to get the school spirit up. So, some of the events that have been happening throughout the last few weeks is that we've been having Spirit Fridays throughout the whole year. This is in order to have school spirit that continues into the football game that night. 2 weeks ago, the spirit theme was whiteout. We ended up losing the game, but there was huge support through the game. This is also part due to the fact that we were selling whiteout shirts at lunch. Those were a really big hit with the students. They really liked that, and that was something that I think we did well. This past week, Student Council held a Spirit Week. This was in order to get ready for homecoming, so they came up with some great Spirit Days ideas. They included Media Monday, where students dressed up as their favorite artist or celebrity. Twin Tuesday, where students twin with a friend or group. Anything but a backpack day for Wednesday, which was my favorite day, but it brought some very interesting items into the school. Throwback Thursday and the long-awaited Pink Out Day for Friday to lead into our football game and our homecoming game. We also had a pep rally on Friday, with each grade participating in games for points end up being put toward Color Day later in the year, which you all hear about eventually. Now I'm going to go into Lily because she's not here. So, on Thursday, before the homecoming game, we had a bonfire. We do this every year, and it's to help build support for our school clubs and lets them raise money and get more funding for their clubs. There is music, food, games, and all the students very much so enjoyed it. As we continue on through the year, the fall sports are coming to an end, and we'll be starting winter sports soon. We'd like to congratulate all of our teams for their great seasons. We want to give a shout out to our school's band and color guard for their amazing halftime performances that everyone enjoys. Also, they've had an undefeated season so far, so congrats to the band. Also, I'd like to mention that Dr. Smith, Lily, and I are going to be working on putting free feminine products in the bathrooms throughout the rest of the school year. So, as always, we're here for any questions, and we hope everyone has a great night.
Any questions?
I do just want to share that Emily is flying solo tonight. Lily, unfortunately, came down with a cold, so couldn't make it tonight. How did the junior class do in? Terrible. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to the report of the superintendent.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple things to share, but before I do that, I would like to invite Dr. Lucas and Mr. Voorhees to the podium. They're going to present on our SEL, the work that we've been doing last year, and we actually have the data from last year. So I'm excited to share that presentation.
Okay. Thank you for having us here tonight. Dr. Anne-Marie Lucas, Director of Pupil Services, and I've been working alongside Dr. Voorhees as we work through, and we're here today to kind of present on social emotional learning and some of the outcomes that we've seen for our students since implementing at the K-5 level. So, as we jump into some of this information here, I'm not going to read directly from the slides, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what you see on the slides. So, second step, what is second step? Why is it here? Just to give you some background and history, Montgomery County Health and Human Services was awarded a federal grant for school violence prevention from the Bureau of Justice Administration, and this is a 3-year grant. And as part of that grant, second step is part of the universal curriculum and instruction that the county has adopted and that we're benefiting from training and support in to implement across our K-5 schools last year. So what is Second Step? It is a program that is really focused on teacher-led and provided lessons, and there is generalization of those lessons across the school week for the students. Here you can see on this slide, we have the last year been doing this with our K-5 buildings, within those buildings. And we have had a lot of professional learning to implement, to make sure we're doing it with fidelity. And there is a lot with the pacing and structure, too, that I'm going to go into on the next slide. So what you see in this graphic here is pretty much the multi-tiered systems of support and or the RTI of the past, response to intervention framework. And where does Second Step fall within this? It's the green part. So it is a tier 1 universal approach to instruction in the areas of social and emotional learning. So just to give you that context, so it's all students receiving this instruction by their teachers in their classrooms. And then the next slide. What does it cover? So here you can see some of the second step topics of instruction that are across the different grade bands. So at elementary, and I'm not going to read them to you so you can see them on there, but here you can see that it really does focus on the interpersonal and intrapersonal skill development for students. And specifically, we know in the past there's been some data, survey data, that has, revealed perceptions of bullying and other concerns. And so this is one element, a very strong element universally, to address that through proactive, positive social skill development in those different topic areas. There is a scope and sequence that maps out around all of this, and the teachers are following it within their classroom. So let's talk about the data on this next slide. So this slide really represents the who and of the data set. So as you can see, it's all of our teachers in our elementary K-5 buildings and all of the students, since it is instructed by those general ed teachers. The teachers had to complete both pre and post test assessment, like survey data evaluations. It was called the Devereaux Student Strength Assessment. They took this assessment before they began implementing, and then they took it at the end of last school year. So we could then gather results to see, what efficacy it had. And there was a scale that ranged from never seeing the different skills in the student, those social and emotional skills, to very frequently. And it was on a scale of 0 to 4, just to give you a frame of reference for how they were rating things. So if you go to the next slide, this is the data breakdown. Now, there was a whole lot more data that was shared with us, but this really captures, I think, the focus of pre to post where we are with second step implementation. So to explain it to you, and again, you can read what it says up there, but to explain it, on the left-hand side, 19.8 is the score that was achieved in the beginning. That was the before we did any implementation of second step. The potential score range was from a 0 to 32. The teachers would rate the students on their skill development of these different social and emotional learning skills that it assessed. Post second step, you see that on the right-hand side, these students were at 23.5. So what we're seeing here is on average real growth from where we started. I think it says, I can't really read it there, 18% increase from pre to post. On the right-hand side, just to give you some perspective, that is all districts that have been implementing second step. And as I shared in the beginning, this is something that was adopted throughout Montgomery County to be used. And as you can see, our results were actually better, the growth, because we started at 19.8 and we went to 23.5. So you have to look at where we started. All right, and then if you look at the slide after that, just again, you can read what this states, but I want to explain the data. So on the left-hand side, the colors are not very good, but the pre-data, the purple, which is the bottom, the purple is those students who were rated as they have a need in this area. So there were 25% of students who they needed to develop those skill areas. The yellow area is students who are rating at a typical or where you would expect kids to be. And then 11 was like above and beyond, like they already had skills and then some. So on the pre-assessment, if you add up your yellow and your green category, we're at about a 76 baseline percentage. If you look at the post-test data and you add that yellow and green, we went to an 89%. So our students grew, which is great to see from pre to post. And again, you can see the analysis on the right-hand side of that comparison across other districts that we're using it. So this is all good information. So if you go to the final slide, the so what, and I always say, well, now what? Like, what do we do next? So here you can see we've kind of mapped out the plan moving forward in review of the data, because it's always a work in progress. So overall, The evaluation results are very positive from what we just reviewed. There was better social emotional capacity of our students on average, and the share of students demonstrating strength in social emotional capacity nearly tripled when we look at that data set. And while the pieces that we're moving forward with is this year, the middle school is beginning to implement, so we're looking at that continuum of providing this instruction to students, and we're continuing to look at the data. And important to note is you saw, I believe in the skill area, it did talk about the middle school program does have very targeted bullying areas to it, but we're looking at supplements to the bullying prevention type skill programming. So what that means is it's purchasing other materials that we would then supplement, both for elementary and middle school, into this coming school year. We're continuing to partner and work alongside Devereaux, which is the group that's coming out and training and working alongside all of Montgomery County school districts who are implementing. And another key piece of the data that we did see too, because it asked for teacher feedback. How are teachers feeling about it? And overall, our data there said that 70% have buy-in, feel confidence, and are doing really good, feeling good about it. But there is that other percentage that still feel there's some work. They need to learn more about it, build their confidence. So we certainly understand that a next step here as well is to continue to work on those teacher buy-in, confidence with implementation, and just fidelity of the overall implementation. So that is all of it. Are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas. I do have two other things just to kind of update you. Two stakeholder groups met last evening at our high school. Our Educational Equity Committee held their first meeting, facilitated by Dr. Lucas and Mr. Boris. The committee is made up of parents, students, and staff who volunteered last spring during our discussion to draft our educational equity policy. Their work will be centered around a number of themes, including workplace diversity, professional development, culture proficiency, focus on data, partnerships and inclusion, welcoming and inclusive environment, access to equitable resources, and multiple pathways to success or high expectations. Our parent advisory group also met last evening to discuss our 2022-2023 district goals, including Goal 2.1, which is our goal to measurably improve communication and collaboration among all stakeholder groups. The group provided feedback on our updates to our website and social media. And I would like to give a shout out to Ms. Danielle Spolsky, who has been leading that effort. A lot of positive feedback on the changes to the website and to our social media presence, so thank you for that. Additionally, we discussed parent and student surveys planned for later this fall. And lastly, we discussed a return of out-of-district cyber students and additional outreach to these families. We have had some success, as Mr. Linke shared in our committee meeting prior to this meeting, bringing students back from out-of-district cyber charters back into our district and charter schools back into our district. So we're pleased about that, and we'll continue that work. And then the last thing I have is tomorrow we have an early dismissal. We also have a special schedule at our high school to accommodate PSAT and SAT testing. Our 10th and 11th grade students will be taking the PSAT, while our 9th grade students and 12th grade students will be working virtually on college career readiness activities. And that's all I have for this evening.
Well, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions about any of that? All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes, 7.1.
I'll make a motion that we approve 7.1 through 7.2.
A motion, a second to approve all of items 7.1 and 7.2. Do I have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We move on to receiving of the accounts.
I move that we accept the high school, middle school, and cafeteria accounts as presented.
I have a motion, a second to
Aye.
approve the accounts as submitted. Do we have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to granting of the orders.
I move that we approve the payments of invoices in the amount of $9,053,936.77 for September 2022 as presented.
I have a motion and a second to approve granting of the orders. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes. Move on to the treasurer's report.
I move that we approve the treasurer's report for September 2022 as presented and file it for audit.
I have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. File it for audit. Move on to action items 11.1.
I'd like to make a motion under personnel, we approve 11.1 and 11.2.
A motion to approve 11.1 and 11.2. Do we have any comments or questions about those two items?
Yes, I do. Barb Palucci, who's been our secretary at different areas all over the school district, is going to be enjoying being a grandmom and just sitting back and enjoying herself. She's done a lot for our school. I know her personally, and I wish her nothing but the best. And same with Dina Santangelo, wishing her nothing but the best.
If I can also shout out to both of them. They're both fabulous individuals. And just to add a little bit about Deanna, Deanna was our nursing crew, and our nursing crew did amazing work in the last couple of years. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on those individuals, and they did an amazing job, and I really do appreciate that. I see Dr. Stango agreeing.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to 11.3.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 11.3 through 11.7.
I have a motion and a second to approve 11.3 through 11.7. Is there any comments or questions on those items? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to 11.8.
I'll make the motion that we approve miscellaneous executive administrative salary.
I have a motion and a second to approve 11.8 administrative salary. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
No, thank you, Dr. Finnerty, for what you do for Pottsgrove.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to 11.9.
I'll make the motion, we approve 11.9.
I have a motion and a second to approve 11.9 new and revised positions. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
If we could just review this for the community, please.
Absolutely. So this motion concerns the creation of a new position to coordinate special services, which are services to support student behaviors. Throughout the district, we have a board-certified behavioral analyst, also called a BCBA, and a team of RBTs, which are registered behavioral therapists, or technicians rather. They are there to be our Tier 2 and Tier 3 support, if you recall that pyramid that Dr. Lucas projected. So the second step is our Tier 1 that all kids get to support their behavioral growth. Some kids, a small percentage of kids, need additional supports, and we have a team of people that we use to do that. This position will create a leadership role for that team to both coordinate, provide training, and focus the efforts of that team to make sure that our students are getting everything that they need. It also, in the same motion, is to backfill with either a new BCBA or 2 RBTs to kind of, I guess, do the work, the front line of the behavioral interventions.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to move on to action items 12.1.
I'd like to make a motion, action items under business, to approve 12.1 and 12.2.
I have a motion and a second to approve 12.1 through 12.2. Any have any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to move on to action items 13.1.
I'd like to make a motion under conference attendance or action education to approve 13.1 through 13.4.
A motion and a second to approve all action items, 13.1 through 13.4. Do we have any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to the MCIU update.
So I have to apologize, I didn't, for some reason I was not sent the minutes from that board meeting. I did have to Zoom that meeting, I was unable to go in person. I was kind of bummed because I like the dinner beforehand, and I just like getting to know everybody. But just that night, it just wasn't gonna work. So I do have two things, though, that I failed to mention the last time. On October 21st, which is a Friday, they're going to have the dedication of the building dedication of the Early Learning Academy, which is on Main Street in Norristown. It's a very large building. It houses quite a few students. It also houses their partial hospitalization program, which is where my daughter works and loves it. And so I don't know why they're waiting until now to do the dedication. It's been there quite a while, but I'm going to be attending because I just like to see the building, and I've heard it's pretty nice. So I'm going to be going to that. And then on November 11th, for the MCIU Education Foundation, they're doing a fundraiser. It's going to be Monte Carlo Casino Night in Bluebell. And it benefits, so the Education Foundation benefits like Reading Olympics, camps, and post-secondary scholarships for students with special needs. So not sure if I can talk my husband into going to that one, but I'm going to try. So anyway, that's my update for now. There is no meeting in October, so you won't get an update from me until December, I guess. So that's it.
Dr. Nimmer, do you have a question?
Just a comment. The Legislative Committee was supposed to have met about 2 weeks ago. The meeting was canceled because Attorney Valletto became a grandmother and was occupied that time. So there was no Legislative Committee meeting, and there wasn't any report, and I don't think there's another meeting scheduled.
Yeah, we don't have a board meeting this month, so I don't know if they don't have a legislative meeting.
Well, the
too, I'm not
legislative,
sure.
given what the Legislative Committee deals with, most of those people are occupied running for office right now.
Well, thank you very much. Anybody have any other comments or questions? Thank you, Ashley. We're going to move on to the JOC meeting update.
Yes, we had our meeting last week. Again, it's always nice to see everybody. It went really well. The most important thing is the Western Centers Teachers Union, we came to an agreement. So that was excellent, yes. And I thank Jay for representing Pottsgrove and just being steady and strong. But they changed a lot of language. I don't know if you want to say like kind of a little bit about it. No. Yeah, but they cleaned up the language, and it went really well. So we have a new contract for 5 years. So that's really exciting. We had good discussion under new business. You know, we had the regular board meeting approving this and approving that, but the board had asked the administration to provide information on onboarding enrollment, how the process works, looking at the trends, and we would like to get a 5-year projection of future plans to increase enrollment. Right now, we are maxed out. We do not have another seat for another student. So, and it's causing some concerns because we do have, the way it goes is some freshmen can be taking the slot of a junior. So there's different things that we really have to look at. So the administration is going to come back to us with some ideas, and we're going to get a plan and, you know, see how that works out. But we have like 70 acres behind the building, but we have no room for any more students, which is a good thing to have, but still, we want to be able to accept everybody, but I really want the board to understand the process. How do you fill the application out? You know, then you take a tour, and how does the administration accept some and accept others don't get in? So we really want to do that as a whole and find out the process. So, and we want to find out the numbers. So that's the first we've ever done that. So Mr. Holtzman, who's our principal, he's going to send out a rubric to the board with all the criteria for the enrollment and provide us information on how that would work. So I think that's really important for all of our schools, sending schools to know. So, and that is all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Question, we've always asked the students to be more involved and become a Western Center. How long, is this the first year we're at capacity, or is this something we've been at capacity for a while?
Well, a couple years back, our numbers were low. So they started enrollment with freshmen coming in. So now we're looking at it, and Joe, you had said at one time we went full-time.
I'm sorry,
We went full-time at the Western Center, didn't we?
there was a time when they were all full-time back in the day.
Yeah.
I forget, that's 12 years ago, 14 years ago. But, yeah, we were somewhat short, I guess, in signups and so forth, and some of the programs didn't have enough students, so they started offering ninth graders some of those positions. But now, but you have some programs that are at capacity and a few others that are still a little slightly below. So, but nobody's picking those programs. They have enough to maintain that program. Mr. Livingood used the dental occupations as an example. You know, they have 20 kids, so, you know, and the magic number is 15. If you don't have 15, then it's going to fall off, and it has to be so forth. But, you know, they have 20. Well, they can really fit 30, but nobody's picking dental occupations. But they have enough to continue the program. So there's some programs that are maxed out, welding and things of that nature, automotive, carpentry, and it was a balancing act of where you're going to go with that. They may want to expand the welding shop a little bit, but they opened up precision machining, and that is really growing, and they're hoping to get more kids into that because there are seats open there. So that's where it really stands. Is we're at capacity in certain classes, but not all classes.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have a question. You said the Western Center owns 70 acres? Why?
I think it was part of the, I'm going to assume, this is me just assuming, that when they first purchased that whole land, or owned that whole land, that was always there. And they never built on it or expanded onto it. I know there is a farmer that rents some of those acreages and grows stuff, and the money goes back to the school.
Okay. I mean, I know who owned the land there. I grew up half a mile from the Western Center. So I was just wondering why I mean, that's a lot of acreage to sit on, especially there. The farmer there, he sold almost everything. And that's where all those houses are from. When I lived there, none of those houses were there. It was all farmland. I would think, it being in Springford School District, that selling off that land would be a lot of money. And could they maybe be rolled into expanding the Western Center if needed? I mean, that land in Springford is prime, especially there. It's a very sought-after area.
The only thing I'll add to that is if there's ever a decision down the road in the future, it would have to be approved by 27 board members. You know, we represent the board at the JOC, but a big decision like that, we would all have to be on the same page. And I know it was really tough, what was it, 10 years ago when they did the renovation, with the 3 school districts coming together on who's paying for, you know, the most for these renovations. So, and that was the last time anything's been done at the school, but But they just sit on it, they don't pay any taxes on it. You know, so it's not costing us anything, but it's a lot of acreage back there. Yeah, because we're a school, we don't pay taxes.
But regardless of it not costing anything, that's a lot of money you're sitting on there.
Still,
A lot.
exactly, it is.
That could probably fund quite a bit of an expansion. So regardless of whether it needs to, I can't imagine that the other board members wouldn't approve of something like that. I don't know what kind of rent you're getting, but I'm sure it wouldn't match in what that land could go for.
Good points. Anybody have questions or comments? Thank you, Patty. We're going to move on to action item 16.1, committee items.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 16.1 through 16.3.
I have a motion and a second to approve 16.1 through 16.3. Do you have any comments or questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to go on the policy committee report, please.
All right, we had a light meeting that week. Just two policies. The first was Policy 805, Emergency Preparedness and Response. And that was really just updated to pin down the amount of hours that would go into the training. And it's going to be for all Pottsgrove employees, 3.5 hours, 2.5 hours that will be in person, and then an additional hour that could be either in person or virtual. The other policy was the 236.1 threat assessment. That really changed. Prior to this, each building had its own threat assessment team. It's been modified so that there's one overarching threat assessment team for the entire district made up of people from each of the buildings within the district. And that's really was the main change with that one. So it was light. That was it.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Thank you, Jim. We'll move on to new business. Dr. Finnerty, you're first.
Just one quick item on new business. Earlier, I talked about two different committees of shareholders that met, parents, students, staff members. In one of those meetings, we talked extensively about reaching out to additional community members and asking for parent volunteers. That's an exciting prospect, so we'll be looking at avenues where we can invite more of our community into our committees and into other volunteer opportunities. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Tina?
So I wanted to ask Emily, how are you feeling about the student board rep position?
It's really fun. I like it. I like having a say in what's happening in the school because I feel like before this, there wasn't much representation in the high school. It was a lot of like, you know, when I was younger, it was like my parents would tell everybody everything. But like now that I get a say and like be able to tell you guys what actually happened, real and raw, it's a really good opportunity. So I really like it.
Thank you for serving.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Patty?
Well, I have some questions on the Market Street money. I thank you, Ron, for forwarding all that information to me. I'm just trying to figure out a way to help the band. They need about $27,000, and they have grown over 200% since last year with their numbers. And as you know, everybody's different sizes and shapes and everything. So I actually was forwarded a quote on how much it would be with the pieces itemized. But getting back to Market Street, do we have, like, I want to find out, how do we have contracts with them? What are the terms for the sponsors? So, yeah, do we have anybody looking into that for our Market Street sponsors?
We can talk about that at probably the next athletic co-curricular, because Ms. Ronsbach is the one who leads that up.
Oh, okay. But I still want to, keep trying to help the band. That's the most important thing because they're doing phenomenal. And I did see the breakdown on the Market Street on what departments got what. And I'm really glad we were able to help it with the sound system for the fields. But I just want to find out how we can help the band better. That's all.
I have a question on that. The band, is it part of music league? Is it part of athletics? What is the band actually part of? Like, who is responsible for the band? All right, so the person that's in charge of the band needs to bring that up to Dr.
Well,
Smith
it's
so that they
actually-
can possibly increase the budget if necessary.
Right. So the three are helping. Dr. Smith's being a big help. Our band director, Miss Ellie, and I can't think of the leader for our music department. Kristen Hyde, yes. They're all working together, but they just sent this to me because I said, let me just see how we can help you with this. And I know if we bring it up at the athletic meeting, we can really, all of us, understand more about how the Market Street money works. So I think that'll be really helpful.
My only recommendation, because I appreciate, and absolutely, I want to help the band in everything we can as well. But when it comes to certain aspects, I'm always a follow the chain of command. And going straight to a board member saying, well, I need $27,000 for this, when the proper protocol, unless I'm missing something, anybody sees that, should be go to, since they're part of the high school, go to Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith then goes to the budget part. That person then goes to Ron, and we're not coming up with something like that. My recommendation would be, before we start saying, okay, let's just find money here for this, would be go to Dr. Smith, go through the procedures, and then bring it to the board and we can approve it.
They are.
And I'm on the side of athletics and the side of extracurriculars too. Go ahead. Joe? You,
Nothing, I'm good.
coming around, Dr. Nippert. Jim? Ashley? I did have one thing. I guess it was like 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, or 3 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. All right, the board and the community was sent a notification that we were going to change a policy for, I think it was either all football games or it was for all activities outside of the school but on school property, where if you are under a particular age, you must bring a parent or guardian with you. So my question first is, if we're going to have to go to this type of, I don't know, not policy, I guess. It's not a policy because it's not official or anything. This type of unwritten policy, let's say that. One, how did that work with this Friday?
So what I think you're referring to is over the past couple of weeks, Mr. Ansbach has sent out typically on Thursday, a reminder to our community about the conduct of the football games. In that some districts, not Pottsgrove at this point, but some districts do not admit students that are not high school age unless they're accompanied by a parent or guardian. And that is becoming more popular. We're looking at that. Because we have a large number of middle school and elementary students present, and they are not, how should I say this? They are not watching the game, so to speak. Their parents may be there, but their parents are watching, or their parents or guardian, whoever they came with, are in the stands watching the game, and the students are unsupervised at that point. So there is some concern about their behaviors. Nothing super significant, but there's just being a lot of middle school and elementary kids running around. They could bump some of our other people, other seniors in particular, and just the behaviors that, like it's a high school football game. We're there to celebrate our high school athletes, our high school student musicians, not provide supervision for our middle school and elementary students. So that's kind of where that's coming at. So we did not implement that practice.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was it, but that's why I was asking, because, I don't know, again, I'm an old school guy. I want the kids to be there, and I could just see a lot of families that aren't gonna have the means to where the mom or dad or guardian has to be there. And, but the kids still wanna be there, so I don't wanna sort of not include everybody. It almost feels like I'm including some and not including all. If I say, well, nope, your mom's not here. I know your mom has to work at night, so you can't come. You know, I don't want to be the person or the district that says, look, we can't figure out a way to let everybody come and enjoy the game unless your parents there. That's all. I don't want to go to where we have to be like a police state or, nope, you can't come because your family's not here. That's all.
I think sometimes, too, it becomes a safety issue, because I've been at a couple of them games, and I mean, I'm small, I'm petite, and I get trampled on by these kids because they're just running around. I don't know how to solve it, but it's chaos at times. It really is, and it's a safety issue.
And I should have mentioned this earlier, we do have, and I want to acknowledge my administrative team, we do have a very significant administrative presence at the game. Our middle school team, our elementary team and high school team are often present. Mr. Ansbach does a great job in organizing it and arranging for some of our security officers to be present. Our partners in the police department, even though it's lower, we often get upper and even west police department folks stopping by. So that's all good. But there are times when managing behaviors detracts from the overall enjoyment of the game. And that's a concern, and we continue to study it. And like Mr. Leach said, I want as many people there as possible. I don't look at it as a high school event. I look at it as a community event. I want our high school to be a big part of the community, not just the high school. I want it to be important to our neighborhoods. I want it to be important to the people who live here. But we have to behave. And little kids running around, while it's not, there's nothing malicious about it. There's not a lot of property there, and it's pretty easy to bump into somebody, and that's our senior citizens and our older adults and people that are just paying attention to the game deserve the ability to enjoy the game without being kind of bumped in or just their experience detracted from. So
I don't know if I could comment on this, but I'm going to say, as a high school student in the student section, every football game, the middle schoolers are annoying. However, I do have middle school siblings, so I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I do think there has to be a way for people to come, but there has to be guidelines in place because it can be dangerous. Kids going to the bleachers, stuff that just isn't protocol. People want to enjoy the game, and there's kids under the bleachers running on the bleachers, stuff we just don't want to have football games. So there has to, I don't know what you guys are gonna do, but it has to be a balance. But yeah.
Well, as a student board representative, that's a leadership position. And so we could have a conversation about what your thoughts perhaps are on engaging our middle school friends.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I was in middle school, I didn't really care about games. So, I mean, they have their own games. Go to your own games. But at the same time, they want to a lot of them are playing sports that they are going to be on that field one day.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for the development of the future Falcons and everything like that. But I think that safety isn't even the biggest issue. I think it's just the respect part of it and the fact that they are taking away from the enjoyment of the game for everybody else.
And one thing that we really should clarify. So the other thing that happened at the last game is we had our step up, which is when our middle school student musicians join their high school partners, and that was a fantastic
Yeah,
experience.
my siblings did that. They
yeah.
really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
that was very well run.
And by and large, most everyone behaves
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
And responds well to redirection.
Yeah. There's a
it's-
few that sometimes get a little out of hand, though, that
It-
I've seen. So.
So we will continue to encourage parents and guardians to support their student, bring them there, but please be engaged in the supervision and make sure that it can be an enjoyable experience for everybody.
I would just like to say that, I mean, a number of times the kids also look towards the football game as an event to go and socialize with their friends. And so there's that part of it, but then also, unfortunately, I know we've all witnessed it, just because their parents are there doesn't mean that they're going to be supervised to any, but at the same point, there are kids there that are there without their parents that do act appropriately. So I sort of feel like it's, whether their parents are there or not, may not diminish the running around as much as we would like to think, so.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to move on to public comment. Do I have anybody for public comment that I didn't get? This is on any item. Do I have any public comment inside the Zoom, online? No. Well, then we're going to move on. There is one. Let's go. If you could state your name, township, and you have 2 minutes.
Jeanette, you may speak. Mr. Bittler, it's Ms. Jeanette Clifton.
She does speak usually. She knows.
Ms. Clifton, you indicated that you have public comment. You are live.
All right, if for some reason we catch her, she can send it into the board, we'll take care of it. I need a motion for adjournment. Adjourned. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Wake up here tomorrow.